Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Andrew Golden, and I'm the director of Medill on the Wildcat Welcome Board of Directors. I also serve on the member of the IM team, and one of the weekly series that we're doing is 30 Days to Northwestern by which is NYou or like NYou is the series of this webinar on Wednesday, which is a chance for incoming students to hear from a panel of current students as they talk about their Northwestern experiences on a variety of topics. So today we'll be talking about the first year experience for new students. So we just talked to transfer students about their experiences, but now we're going to move to the experiences of first year students. So before we get started, just wanted to say that the purpose of this panel is to give you an opportunity to hear from current students as they talk about their first year at Northwestern and a few things that they considered. This will not be a space to discuss or learn the intricacies of how campus might look different due to health and safety concerns this fall. For more info on that, you can tune into tomorrow's webinar from the university when they discuss the new student experience and the connection to health and safety guidelines. And you can register for that on the Northwestern homepage. But fortunately, we do have 5 current students who are at Northwestern who serve as peer advisors who are volunteering to participate in this. I'm going to go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nala Bishop. I'm a rising sophomore majoring in human development and context. And I'm also getting a certificate in civic engagement. I think we're doing like favorite like ice cream flavors. Okay.
I forgot to ask that. That's on me. Yeah, your favorite ice cream flavor.
Yeah, my favorite ice cream flavor is probably Rocky Road.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elena. I'm a rising third year majoring in history with minors in political science and data science in Weinberg. And my favorite ice cream flavor is probably Cherry Garcia from Ben & Jerry's.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vicente. I'm a rising 4th year. I'm studying economics and history. And my favorite ice cream flavor would have to be banana. Not found everywhere, but definitely my favorite.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy. I'm also a rising 4th year, and I am in Weinberg, and I'm majoring in economics and political science. And my favorite ice cream flavor is probably chocolate.
Hi everyone, my name is Abdallah. I'm a rising 3rd year, and I'm double majoring in manufacturing and design engineering in McCormick and psychology. And my favorite ice cream flavor is strawberry cheesecake.
A lot of variety of ice cream flavors, amazing. Mine's also been chocolate chip for anybody who was asking. But anyway, is transition. So the way this roadmap is kind of going to work for today, we're going to talk about academics first. Then we're going to kind of move into the social setting, and then kind of housing. Feel free to, if you have any questions, to put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer them. But yeah, so we're going to start with the academic portion of this. So the first question I have for you guys is, what was most surprising to you from an academic lens during your first year, and what were you not anticipating?
I feel like I'll go first. I think one thing that surprised me about the academics at Northwestern is sort of how like supportive everyone is. I'm in the School of Education and Social Policy, so maybe this is different, but I feel like a lot of the academic advisors within CESP, so supportive, so loving. Honestly, they're like a family. And yeah, I honestly wasn't prepared for that. I think when I was in high school, they kind of prepared for me to like really be on my own and like not really have like people hold your hand, but like honestly, like a lot of the advisors like will hold your hand and like will help you out a lot and provide a lot of like resources and things like that. So yeah, that's one thing I was surprised about.
Yeah, I feel like piggybacking off of that, I feel like professors tend to be super duper supportive. And I also thought that I was kind of going to be on my own. And so many of them are so passionate about the things that they're researching and the things that they're teaching. They really want to spark your intellectual curiosity. And they're, like, in my experience at least, have always been open to wanting to chat more about the class or about their research and tend to be super available. So office hours is definitely something to take advantage of all the time at Northwestern.
Yeah, I've definitely had a similar experience. I think I was going into it thinking professors would be more intimidating or harder to approach, but they're all, in my experience, they've all been really like forthcoming and like really easy to talk to and easy to go into office hours just to get help. Or even like I remember my first year chatting with my first year seminar advisor, and just like he always asked like how I was doing, and like checked in on like my life and like how things are going settling in at Northwestern. So I think professors are just really great resources for academics, but they're also really supportive of students in general, which is really nice.
Like about something else though, I think that like coming in bigger classes was something that was like surprising to, I don't know, just like a different experience for me. And sometimes like professors will be really supportive, but there are also some times where the class is just a little bit too big. And for those kind of settings, I found it was like really helpful to find study groups. And another thing is, I think the pace of Northwestern can get a little bit overwhelming, and it's something that kind of sneaks up on you. At least it did when, like, my fall quarter, because in the beginning, it's like you're having fun and everything's pretty easy, and then midterms and finals tend to pile up. So that was something that I found surprising, but it's like nothing like too difficult to manage, and it's just like about like balancing your workload when you're choosing classes and you get better at it.
For me, my experience was a little bit different. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because engineering professors aren't as supportive as maybe others, but there are definitely a lot of resources that you kind of like can reach out to. Like, there's drop-in tutoring. I found the study groups to be really helpful. And then also there's like a whole department or something called like, I don't know the name, but there's like definitely people, like if you're having trouble adjusting like I did, like they will like literally have one-on-one sessions to like help you develop new study habits and everything. So the transition is different for everybody, but like if you're having trouble adjusting, there are people who will literally like help you like learn how to study.
Yeah, I think a lot of great answers there. And another question I have, this is kind of not necessarily about your first year, because obviously you only experienced this past spring, but we know that most classes will be remote this quarter. And though you can't speak to that being your first quarter, what's the most important thing you did or used to help you when you had remote classes in the spring?
For me, it's like just thinking if I had remote classes as my first quarter in at Northwestern, it probably would have been a little bit more difficult for me to get my head into academics. I don't know. For me, it was like really, really important to actually go to your lectures if you're in the same time zone and you're able to. Like obvious, like my professors have been really forgiving if I can't make it to anything, or if something falls through, but it's harder to keep yourself in check when you don't have to go to physical lectures. And last spring it was like pass fail, so it was a little bit more forgiving when you did miss an assignment, or when you do fall behind on work, but this fall quarter it won't be. So yeah, I think going to lectures and like making sure you don't tell yourself that you're just gonna go back to the recording was something that really helped me out.
I would say probably like take as many breaks as possible. I know that being like online is like being on your computer like all the time is so exhausting. Like at least for me, I found it to be very exhausting. So like taking as many breaks and like walking around, because we don't you're probably not gonna get to do that much on campus, at least for like the first few weeks. So like, just get up and move, like get some water, make sure you're eating and stuff, just like taking as many breaks as possible, because being online and like for consecutive hours a day, it's just like it can like drain you. So I would say like take breaks.
Yeah, that's been really helpful for me, just like spacing out time during the day so I'm not feeling overwhelmed. And also what really helped me was like just having designated places in my house to work. So I knew like there were some places where I could like take a step back and didn't have to think about work, but then there were places where I could spread out and focus more, which was definitely a little more difficult to find those places to concentrate, but trying to consciously have that space was good.
Yeah, separating like where you like work and where you do other stuff is really important. And then also last quarter online, I had like 2 group projects, and group projects, I think they're still doing DTC online for freshman fall, but like online group projects are like completely different, and it's like really difficult to communicate with everybody. But a suggestion I would have is to just like be really honest with your group members, and it will hopefully work out. Yeah, but those are hard.
I think for me with remote learning, the biggest thing was just like being forgiving of myself and being kind to myself, and just knowing that the transition and the expectations that you have for yourself in an in-person environment can be very different from the expectations that you have for yourself in a remote environment. And maybe if you're not performing like necessarily as well as you would hope, that you should be kind to yourself and still reward yourself in different ways to make yourself feel good about all the hard work and effort that you are doing. So I think that was the big thing for me in spring quarter.
I also wanted to add something else. So last quarter, there were like times when I was struggling, and I'm sure everyone was struggling in some way, and things haven't necessarily gotten better at all for this upcoming fall. So for me, when I reached out to a couple of my professors, when I just had overdue work where I just was so behind, every single one of them was really, really nice to me and really forgiving. And it's like being nice to yourself, and also remembering that like your professors, if you tell them what's going on, they tend to be really nice about it too. I can't speak for every professor, but at least that's like been my experience so far.
Yeah, I think a lot of great points were brought up, and just want to reiterate a couple things. Also want to add that there will be sessions during Wildcat Welcome about remote learning and hearing from more students about how they navigated that. So definitely, during Wildcat Welcome, definitely take advantage of those opportunities to hear about other students' perspectives as well. And before I move on to the next question, I just want to remind everybody who's watching this, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat so we can answer them. We'd love to hear any questions or concerns you guys might have. But another question I'm going to ask you guys, that you also talked about, the pace and rigor of classes here are different than they were in high school. What did you find was a helpful resource or guide to help support you as you try to figure out academics and classwork and homework?
I'd say for me, the number one resource to like managing all of that would be Google Calendar, maybe, or whatever form of calendar app you want. Also, just like finding a supportive network, whether it be friends from home, friends that you make at Northwestern, family, to like keep you on track and stuff like that. Just like making sure you stay grounded to a support network that you can voice your stresses to if it becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, not to reiterate, but for me, just like having a planner to write things down. I'm a very like hard like writing kind of person. So having that like to just write out all my things really got me through that first quarter. And also I like reached out to my family every so often just to have that like space outside of Northwestern where I could kind of connect to and ground myself in something that wasn't in the fast-paced academic world of Northwestern. Was really good to kind of de-stress and debrief after a long week or after midterms week. So that really helped.
So like coming into Northwestern, it's like ridiculous to expect that everyone comes in with the same like level playing field. So like there are some classes that you'll really struggle with and some classes that you'll find easier. And like academic support and learning advancement, like they have a lot of resources, like for example for I came in and I thought I was going to be pre-med, and then I like struggled through chemistry like so hard. And one thing that kind of prevented me from getting a really, really bad grade was like peer study groups. Because for a lot of bigger introductory classes, you'll find that the professor can't really attend to every single student's needs, especially if it's a more difficult class. And it's not only is it like helpful academically, it's also like helpful emotionally. You won't feel as like isolated in your struggles, because sometimes when you come in and it's the first class you encounter you're really struggling with, you might think that, I don't know, like a bunch of thoughts might get in your head about like where you fit on Northwestern, and it's just like such a normal process, and you should definitely seek for support on campus. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm going to ask y'all another question about, choosing classes. Obviously, like you don't really know what to expect coming in and what class are being offered. What advice would you have for first years when it comes to choosing classes?
I feel like I would say like be excited. Like honestly, like to this day, I'm still excited to like choose classes because like Northwestern has such like a big variety of like classes that you can take. Like compared to being in high school, you were like forced to take classes, like you're forced to take English, like one type of English, one type of math. But at Northwestern, there's like so many different types. Like for math, like I'm not a math person, but I had the ability to take stats, and that was like really, really exciting for me because it was a different type of math. So yeah, I would just say like be excited. Like there's so much to like look forward to at Northwestern, like in relation to courses.
I think for me, go for it.
No, you go. Okay.
All right. Well, for me, I think the biggest thing is looking at CTECs, which are course and teacher evaluations. I think being able to like browse those on Caesar and see what past students who have taken the course are saying about the professor, are saying about the course, has been really helpful for me in kind of choosing which classes I want, which professors might fit my learning style a little better, how I can balance the 4 classes that I'm taking per quarter, and really just like think ahead on what my quarter was going to look like.
Yeah, and I would also say like coming in, if you are undecided with your major, or even if you have like any bit of doubt about like what you kind of want to major in the end, I would suggest dabbling in everything. So many people like completely change their idea, like change schools, change majors within like even like the first half year, or like all the way until their third year. And also like bouncing off of Vincent. Sorry, but I think it's extremely important to make sure you balance out like the easier classes and the more difficult ones. Feeling overwhelmed, like even if you don't feel that overwhelmed in the beginning of the quarter, it might pile up. It will pile up really quickly on the quarter system near the end. So yeah, like looking at CTECs and matching easier classes with more difficult ones.
And even just in terms of like balancing things, I found it nice to balance like different kinds of classes too. So like balancing one or two reading heavy classes with like a science or math class. A lot of my major, minor, history and poli-sci have a lot of like reading, writing heavy. So it was nice I took stats last fall, and having that and then going into a data science was really nice. But even if to have that like math balance, but even if you're not like adding another major, there are really cool math and science classes if you're a humanities major, and vice versa if you're science, and it always helps balance out the workload.
This is something I just thought of that doesn't really apply to next quarter. And I don't know when it will apply next, but like if we take classes physically, make sure you also look at the location of the classes. Running back and like your scheduling can like, and timing of lectures, if you choose a earlier lecture and you're not a morning person, it can actually be like extremely stressful for the quarter, because you have to stick with that schedule for the rest of the quarter. But yeah.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to say some other things. So one, what Vicente said, like really, I really encourage y'all to like look at seed text. Like I feel like that is so important. I totally forgot about that. Like make sure you do them too, because if you don't do them, you can't like view them for the next quarters. So it's like really important that you do that. And then also I think it's really important to like visualize your schedule like before you choose classes. So Northwestern used to have this website called like what was it called, like Seraph NYou RIP, but there's a new website. It's called Corsical. It's I'm gonna like say it out loud. So it's COURSICLE.com, and Northwestern is part of it, and you can like visualize your schedule that way. It's super easy, super fun. It's free too, and it just helps you like visualize your schedule, and like help plan out things. So yeah.
And also, I want to answer a couple questions, like some of the questions in the chat. There's one question that's how will office hours work when we're online? I think that kind of depends on the professor and what they did in the spring. I don't think there's like a specific answer for how that works. I think it's professor by professor in terms of that. And also, Nala makes a great point about Corsical's website. There's also Salad and You. Salad, like literally the word salad.nu, also just created by a new student as well. And then another question that was just asked is, what's the best class you ever taken at Northwestern? So I want to hear what everybody's best class they take at Northwestern is.
That's like so difficult. I'll go. So Wendy Perlman has a class called Politics in the Middle East, and it's really popular. So I think a lot of people have taken it. And the great thing about political science higher level classes is you don't have to take the there are no prereqs for any of them, so you can like go in. She offers them in the spring. I don't think she's here all year, but it's like such a good class. She's such a good lecturer. Really, I think a lot of us don't know the basics about history in the Middle East, and it makes it really difficult for us to look at contemporary politics. And she just does such a good job. Yeah.
I think for me, my favorite class was a 20th century British history class that I took my second year with Professor Deborah Cohen. For me, this class was kind of special because I came into Northwestern as a history major, but I eventually decided against it. But then I took this class and it made me re-love history again, which is why I took the class again. I think it taught such a wide variety of like interesting moments in British history. And she was so passionate and so engaged and gave us a bunch of different material to engage with, both in like the readings and the video and audio things, like nonfiction, fiction. It was just amazing. Recommend it to everyone.
I was going to say something else, but that reminded me of a British history course I took. That was amazing. So now I have two, but that one was Tudor and Stuart Britain with Dr. Scott Sowerby, which was great. It was really fun because every lecture just felt like him telling a story about a British monarch and like the social like patterns of the era as well. It was a great class. And he'd like show some clips of like the like Tudor and Stuart rulers like in pop culture, which was really fun. So I loved that class. And I also really liked this class, Language and Gender, which was cross-listed in linguistics and gender and sexuality studies. It was a really, really cool class. It was like more of a big group discussion kind of class than a lecture, which was really nice. So we had a lot of conversations about how gender like interacts in contemporary language, which was really fun. So I highly recommend both of those classes.
I think I have a few, but they're by the same professor. It's a CESP professor. Her name is Shireen Vasuhi. One of her classes was based on like education in America. It was really, really interesting because it made me learn a lot about the American education system, and the politics behind that, and sort of the bad things about it. So yeah, that was really interesting to learn, especially coming from, a private school background. I was always taught that like private schools were kind of like the best way, better than public schools, but that's not always the case. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but yeah, the professor is amazing. So
I think my favorite class was Psychology of Personality with Professor Dan McAdams. And what I really liked about that was he like really applied it. So basically all three tests, you would like learn like whatever psychology of personality, and then you'd apply it to like a famous person. And then I picked like Muhammad Ali because that was like my idol growing up. So every test I would just like write about like take what I learned and apply it to like, one of my favorite people. So that was cool.
Awesome. Sounds like a lot of variety. I think I see another question about how do you access and view C-text? I think you do that on Caesar when you go to register for classes. It's like under the professor like has a review where that's where you can access it. I'm not sure if freshmen have that ability to look at that right now, but I know you will at least by the end of the fall quarter. But I think those are the majority of the questions about academics, and there's a couple questions about involvement in organizations on campus. About like we're going to have another webinar in the coming weeks about what that will look like and involvement at NYou. So stay tuned for that like next week, and we'll get into that. But what I want to transition to is more of like the social scene on campus. And the first question I have for you guys is, how did you go about building your foundational network at Northwestern, and how does your approach translate as applicable advice for incoming students? It's a lot to unpack, so I'll give y'all a second on that
one. I think my first year, I kind of jumped right into a friend group and like some relationships just sort of by proximity, like people who were on the floor of my dorm. And that was nice for a bit, but I don't think I got as close with all of the people. And the group, so to speak, the group kind of dynamic ended up falling apart halfway through my freshman year. But into my freshman like winter and spring quarter, I started branching out more and joined more clubs than I was a part of my fall quarter, and kind of got into different spaces on campus, which allowed me to meet more people and more people with similar interests to me. And I'm still friends with some of those people from my freshman fall quarter, but I think kind of a good piece of advice is just to don't worry about things happening right away and let things kind of take time. It's hard to jump right into things right at the get-go. So don't worry too much if something doesn't work out right away.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mostly agree with what you're saying. I think the biggest thing for me coming into college was really trying to like meet as many people as I reasonably could, just like talking to people, seeing what they were about, seeing what their interests were. And that way I was able to make connections and make some good friendships, some of them that lasted longer than others. But like as I stand now, like some of my closest friends are people that I met on the first day of school, and some of them are people that I met in my third year. So I think the biggest piece of advice is, always just keep trying to meet people. There's so many brilliant, amazing, interesting people on this campus. Never stop trying to learn from them.
Yeah, it took me like pretty much until like the end of sophomore year to like really find, I guess, like a friend group, and it's like constantly changing, and the stress of coming in is like you feel like you have to, it just seems like everyone's finding their best friends. That's why you feel like you have to find your best friend like immediately. And some people stick around and then some people don't, and the beauty of college is like you don't have to be stuck with a certain group of people. And it's not like high school anymore. There are so many different types of people that you can meet. So I would just say that like if you like, I'm pretty sure if you like ask any like junior or senior or like even sophomore, their friend groups like change pretty drastically from their freshman fall. So just have fun, meet people, but don't be like too stressed out about like finding your best friend or like your soulmate or anything like that, because it takes time to form the same relationships like the ones you had maybe in high school that like, you know, took years to form.
Abdallah, you want to go?
Nah, you got it.
Okay. Well, something that I think is pretty cool about Northwestern is that there's a lot of like student organizations, student groups, like based on like people's identities. So like, for example, I'm in the Black Mentorship Program. We also have like a Black Student Union on campus. There's also, you know, like LGBTQ groups, like alliance groups. So like, I think that's where like you could also meet a lot of your friends, like based on like clubs and student orgs. And that's like where I met like most of my friends. It's like student orgs. PA group, don't forget, like when you get to be in your PA group, you're meeting a lot of people who are like have like similar things, like an interest to you. So I definitely think you would definitely like make a friend in your PA group. Honestly, I didn't make a lot of friends in my classes. I wouldn't expect people to. I think it's really hard to talk to people, especially on Zoom. Like it's really hard to like, you know, make friends on Zoom. But yeah, I think most of my friends came from like student orgs and identity like related groups on campus. So.
Yeah, for me, I sort of came to Northwestern and I intentionally picked somewhere far so that I wouldn't know anybody, just because I like meeting new people. And I think I started with the pre-orientation program called Catalyst. I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, I met some people there. And then the dorm was huge. I like living in a social dorm. But yeah, I think the main thing is student orgs for me, at least. And then there's all kinds of student organizations. There's student organizations for almost any interest you might have. So, and then if there isn't one, you could definitely find some people with that interest to start one. Yeah. And a piece of advice I'd give is like, you don't have to have like from all over. Like it doesn't matter. Like just like talk to who you want to talk to.
Yeah, a lot of great advice on that question, and you know, but also like in your first year at Northwestern, what surprised you about the social aspect of Northwestern, and how did that change as time has gone on?
One thing that surprised me was how Greek life worked. I didn't really like know anything about it, and I wasn't really expecting to like come into contact with it. And now I don't even know what's happening with it. But yeah, Greek life was, so it'll probably be different when you guys come on campus. But yeah, Greek life was something that surprised me. I'll leave it at that.
I think a lot of people would say that. I didn't have this experience. Like I'm a rising sophomore, so a lot of people would say that like they were kind of pressured to join Greek life. Definitely don't feel pressured to join Greek life. That's not necessary. Like at all. You can make friends like in so many different ways. Greek life, it's not one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I came into Northwestern at a residential college, which I ended up staying in for 2 years, and met a lot of people like kind of towards the end of my freshman year there, who I like wasn't really expecting to meet, I guess, people who weren't like on my floor or like, you know, kind of in my immediate proximity. And I wasn't even really expecting to go into Northwestern like at a residential college. So that was really cool, and definitely took, I think, some of the pressure off. Some people who I met who weren't necessarily in residential colleges might have, I know, had a little more pressure to like join a sorority or a fraternity, but I didn't end up feeling that, because there was so much going on at the residential college in terms of social activities.
I don't know if this is like super relevant, but when I came to Northwestern, it's like so I came from China, and like the time difference on top of everything like made it so that I was like I constantly needed someone around me, because it just like I felt like my fall quarter, I was just like if I was alone for like 5 seconds, I felt like I was like really lonely. And I just like wanted to say that like it's easy to I guess like feel that way on campus for the first time. I guess you guys aren't on campus, never mind. So this isn't really like applicable, but just like occurred to me. But anyways, also like when you join student organizations, I think they're a really great way to meet people. But I don't think it's a good, at least my quarter, like my fall quarter, I made the mistake of like every time I join a new like student group, I like thought like this is gonna be my friend group. Like this is where I'm gonna like belong, and like this is where I'm gonna have all my friends. And I had this like huge expectation. And a lot of people had that expectation during Greek life too, or like, you know, certain like cultural, like Chinese Student Association or something like that. And I would approach more like them more as like a way to meet new people rather than, you know, forcing yourself to believe that this is your new community and you're set in this community for the rest of your college years.
Okay, I think we had a lot of good answers. So I'm going to transition more into the social aspect of stuff. I see a question, you know, that I want you guys to answer, which is, where did you all live your first year, and how did your dorm contribute to your social life?
I can start. I lived in Willard, but my fall quarter I lived in 1835 Hinman, which is no longer a dorm. I don't think it might be. I'm not sure. No, okay. But it was a dorm that had a lot of different lounges. So it was very nice to be able to like see everybody, and I think we're allowed to like social distance and stuff, which might be nice. But I think that was great. In terms of Willard, yeah, just like common areas were great, especially pre-COVID, I guess. I'm gonna move on. Sorry.
I would say like
Go ahead.
okay. I would say like South and North Campus are really different. I hope you chose your dorms accordingly, but if not, it's okay too. Like I feel like I lived in Allison Hall my freshman year, and it was very like I feel like okay, like some dorms are much nicer than other ones, but like no matter what, like if your dorm's like really not nice, like you and your other people that live in that dorm kind of bond over how not nice it is. So like either way, it's like a formative experience. I can't remember where I was going with this, but it's like you'll be okay whether you like your dorm or not.
I'd say even like the bad dorms are not that bad. I lived in Sargent my freshman fall, which I think our motto was like, at least it's not Bob. But I like living there because we kind of had like one lounge, so everybody had like one area that like all kinds of people would just like do their homework together in. And I think we had like a lot of football players and stuff, so it was just like whole kinds of different people. Like I like that a lot. And we were on top of the dining hall, which was cool. But yeah, so it was nice in the winter because I could just go down in like my pajamas while everyone's like covered in snow. That was nice. But also, yeah, freshman 15 did really hit there because of living on top of a dynamo.
I also lived in Willard, and yeah, it was nice. There were like, yeah, the common spaces. There were always people hanging out, which was really cool. It was a very social dorm, which was nice in a lot of ways. But sometimes it felt hard to find like space to just like exist without a lot of people around. But on the whole, it was nice to have those common areas and like activities going on, and a lot of like Willard pride. So that was fun, kind of a bonding experience.
I'm an Evans scholar, so we have our own dorm that like people can't get into, unfortunately. But I would say that like South really is superior. Like I think North was superior like pre-COVID, but it doesn't really matter anymore because there's no parties. So yeah, I would definitely say that South is good because you're closer to like downtown Evanston. And if you live north, you're gonna have to walk further. So yeah, South. I hope most of y'all live South. So
Yes, all right. So that sums it up in terms of like the different places on campus. And I think what I want to reiterate also is that during Wildcat Welcome this year, despite everything going on, there will be programs offered through Wildcat Welcome, so people get to know other people in the dorm as well, to build that community, like everybody kind of talks about and referenced. And we'll talk more about that later. There's another question from earlier on that I want to make sure that we get to. What would you recommend bringing to campus that isn't necessarily on the packing list?
Bring your shower shoes. Those showers are like they're communal. I'll leave it at, yeah.
I have like, I'm not sure what's allowed. Okay, anyway, so I'm not sure if like a kettle is, no.
what Amy bought.
Like also like this is like something like buy everything that people tell you to buy on the internet. They're like pretty much all useful. And then also like I think everybody makes aggressive use of the microwave wherever it is. So like I got this like little like vegetable steamer that you can steam anything in, and it's like a microwave. Like buy things for the microwave. I don't know. I feel like that's like really useful.
I think I don't know. Maybe don't bring as much stuff. Like bring enough stuff to like lounge in. Like I know I always like underpack like pajama stuff or like stuff to like lounge around in. So just like bring a lot of that because we're gonna be doing a lot of lounging around anyways. So I mean, bring like one formal outfit. I don't know if things will change by when we like go back home, but yeah, try not to like pack too much because that's what I did. I packed way too much and I didn't even wear like half of the things that I bought. So like you can just rewear things. Like no one cares. Like especially if we're gonna be in our room, you don't need to bring that much stuff. So
And another question I want to ask, kind of transitioning more towards, the experience of like living with a roommate. If you guys did have a roommate, what advice would you give to somebody who had a roommate?
I'd say, oh, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'd say just establish like boundaries. Like I had a pretty good roommate experience. Like we got along pretty well, but then time. So like don't be afraid to like put your foot down. Is what I'm saying. Like for example, like I told my roommate, like I don't care when you go to sleep because I really didn't. But then like over time he was like, waking me up at like 2 a.m. I was like, you gotta stop. But yeah, don't be afraid to like establish clear boundaries, and things can change. Like, just because you said you were cool with something in September doesn't mean you have to stick by that in, August or different month. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a similar thing. Just like communicate. It's good. Just be clear about what you want and don't be afraid. Yeah. To make those boundaries. Yeah.
And yeah, if you are like afraid, like maybe like before, like when you guys get settled in, you guys can like talk about like ways you would like to be held accountable. Like not everyone works with like confrontation, so like maybe like writing a note would be more beneficial for other people. So I would say just like Elena was saying, like just communicate in any way that like you guys can, like whether that's through like letters, text if y'all don't want to do that, or like just straight up like confrontation. Like not everyone is like gonna do things the way that you communicate, if that makes sense. Sorry, it's been a while since I've been in school.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps it up. But is there, before we end, is there anything else you guys want to say about your first year experience? Any other advice that you want to impart on the incoming class? If not, that's cool too. Just wanted to throw it out there in case you wanted to.
I just want to say, I think I probably, like, people have already said this, but like, don't be afraid to ask for help, like, no matter what it is. And it's okay to have a rough adjustment. Like, it'll be okay. There's people to support you.
Mm-hmm. And just to reiterate something Vicente said earlier, just be kind to yourself. It's a tough year on top of coming into a new experience. So just give yourself some grace. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up. I'm trying to figure out how to end this call. But thank you guys for joining us today. I really appreciate it and look forward to seeing you guys next week.